Victim Support Services is a nonprofit agency that has been providing free services to crime victims in Washington State since 1975. We are the oldest crime victim advocacy agency in Washington State. At present, we operate in King, Snohomish, Island, Skagit, and Whatcom counties, with offices in downtown Seattle, Covington, Everett, Cedar-Woolley, Bellingham, and now Oak Harbor. Recently, we received a Washington State Office of Crime Victim Advocacy Unmet Victim Service Needs grant, which has allowed us to expand our programming in Island County. We now have 3 dedicated staff members working at our Oak Harbor office. These staff members will provide direct services to crime victims and will hold informational and educational classes for community members and helping professionals throughout Island County. For the next few minutes, I'm going to provide a brief overview of our work at VSS, explain how community-based advocacy differs from systems-based advocacy, and talk about how we work with law enforcement and others in the criminal justice system to achieve our common mission of serving victims of crime. As a community-based agency, our mission is to support crime victims through advocacy, education, and awareness. We are here to support individuals and communities that have been hurt or harmed by crime, and to effectively collaborate with partner organizations. VSS is funded to serve victims of general crime, not domestic violence or sexual assault. We only work on domestic violence cases in the event of a homicide. The crime types that we serve include identity theft, homicide, harassment, property crimes, elder abuse, and many more. Our work at VSS has 4 core elements. Firstly, VSS manages and monitors the statewide Washington State Crime Victim Service Center hotline, which allows for crime victims to confidentially speak or text with a trained advocate 24 hours a day. Our hotline advocates provide emotional support, crisis intervention, resources, and more. An individual does not have to be in crisis to call. Second, VSS focuses on educating communities and other helping professionals. VSS subject matter experts appear and speak at national conferences and provide a broad array of workshops and trainings designed for both community members and helping professionals. Third, VSS offers ongoing emotional support throughout the crime victim's healing journey. We provide trauma-informed therapy and advocacy, facilitate peer support groups, and make referrals to counseling and other social services to aid in trauma recovery. VSS is always there to listen and validate the experiences of crime victims. The 4th element of our work is the provision of direct services. Our advocates provide one-on-one advocacy, emotional support, and referrals for resources. VSS advocates serve as liaisons between law enforcement and prosecutors when appropriate. Our advocates specifically tailor their response to each crime victim on a case-by-case basis, providing assistance with safety planning and emergency funds, memorial and funeral arrangements, applying for crime victim compensation, filing civil anti-harassment protection orders, and other relevant assistance. You may wonder why community-based advocates like VSS exist when criminal justice agencies often employ their own victim witness advocates. The answer is that, though all types of crime victim advocates have a common mission, community-based advocates and systems-based advocates have a different scope of work, and often work collaboratively to ensure that crime victims' needs are met. Community-based advocates normally work for a local nonprofit, whereas systems-based advocates are typically employed by an agency within the criminal justice system. Systems-based advocates serve as the primary contact for crime victims with the specific agency that they represent. The main job of a systems-based advocate is to facilitate the victim's participation in the criminal justice process by ensuring that they are notified of processes and that they are heard in these processes. The systems-based advocate has accurate and timely knowledge of the details of each case as it moves through the criminal justice system. Systems-based advocates predominantly serve victims of violent crime and normally work only with the primary victim, meaning the individual directly affected by the crime. Their work with primary victims is limited to the length of the criminal justice process. Community-based advocates provide comprehensive advocacy services and are not subject to inherent conflicts of interest that may exist for systems-based advocates. Community-based advocates can work with crime victims in cases where the crime is not being processed in the criminal justice system. For instance, in cases where the crime was never reported, or in certain cases of identity theft where charges are not brought due to jurisdictional issues. Community-based advocates also serve victims of a variety of crime types, including, but not limited to, victims of violent crime. Moreover, community-based advocates can work with primary and secondary crime victims and do not require a specific focal point within the family or affected group. Community-based advocates also do not have limitations on when services end. At VSS, we have several clients that have accessed our services for many years after the criminal case has been realized. Both types of advocates have different roles when working with crime victims. VSS collaborates with systems-based advocates to ensure that together we can meet all of the needs of victims of crime. VSS distributes law enforcement cards to law enforcement officials throughout Washington State. The purpose of the law enforcement cards is to provide a fast and easy way for law enforcement officers to put crime victims in touch with the Washington State Crime Victim Service Center hotline, much like the informational materials required by law to be given to victims of domestic violence. Primary and secondary crime victims or other concerned parties can be handed the law enforcement card and told the following message. This is the phone number for the 24-hour toll-free Washington State Crime Victim Service Center hotline. You can call or text the hotline to be connected to assistance in your area. In the event that a caller is confused about who operates the statewide hotline, or that a caller conflates VSS with law enforcement entities, a hotline advocate will explain the purpose of the hotline and the difference between VSS and law enforcement and the criminal justice system. Callers to the hotline will not have to navigate an automated service and will always reach a dedicated advocate on the other end of the line. Callers from Island County will be referred to VSS staff working out of our Oak Harbor office. Our hotline advocates have access to the language line for non-native English speakers and relay services for hard-of-hearing callers. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, requests for materials, or other inquiries, please contact us anytime.